Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. Time now to be joined by the head coach of women's basketball, Coach Darin. Coach, finish up the last regular season road trip of the year. Didn't end maybe the way you want it, but you do get the split on the road against two very physical opponents. Now coming into this week, still have a hand in your destiny a little bit as far as tournament seeding goes.
Yeah, some play. Harding wins out, and they're gonna be conference champions, but they've got to still play SWAZU. Yeah, it's disappointing to go on the road and lose some games or a game that you feel like you should have won. We just played maybe our worst game of the year in that game, and I don't even have any explanation for it. Turn it over, and then those led to what I call pick 6 points. You turn it over, it leads directly to a basket, which you can't defend. There's no defense that you can set up to defend that. They had 9 times that happened where we turned it over. They went down and capitalized directly into a layup situation, which led to 18 points. You're not going to win a game doing that.
Well, and of course, you're big into analytics. You bring up the pick 6. A lot of times when you look at points off turnovers, you'll go, well, it maybe not have been this because they had to go back into a half-court set. In that particular game, it was a slew of fast break points.
Yeah, that was, if you're going to go by the statistic of points off turnovers, that illustrated exactly what I think the spirit of what points off turnovers is. I think that's a useless stat because, again, you could turn it over, you go down and set up your half-court defense, then the turnover had nothing to do with them scoring. But in those cases, it led directly to scoring. We were just out of it the whole afternoon. We were out of it. I don't know what the problem was. We didn't shoot the ball well. We turned it over. We actually didn't defend particularly bad, so we were okay with that. Our rebounding was okay, but just on the offensive end, they disrupted our timing from start to finish, and I just felt like our team just wasn't there that afternoon.
Of course, that Thursday, nice win against the Southern Arkansas team that plays a very unique style, defensively speaking. With that, though, it seemed like Arkansas Monticello picked their moments in time to apply that type of pressure. You've got a similar type opponent coming in on Thursday night with Henderson State.
Well, what I believe Henderson's going to do, and we'll see, I think that they're probably not going to help off our three-point shooters. They're going to leave our kids one-on-one to do whatever they can do. One-on-one, that's what they did at their place. They might apply some pressure as far as ball pressure, but mainly they're just going to stay out in passing lanes and let us get ours one-on-one. I don't feel like that we can do that. We got to make sure that we still run our offense and pick and choose our opportunities to score. They were effective in what they did from a standpoint of our other players last time we faced them. Katie Webb had a career night against them the first time, but we didn't have anybody that joined her in that. So we'll have our hands full. They also play an offense that's extremely difficult to defend. They've got some really good players. They've got some players that for the past 3 years have been some of the league's best players, and those players are kind of playing second fiddle with some other ones. So they've got a complete team. Difficult to defend, a team that defends pretty well. We'll have our hands full.
How important is it to wrap up this regular season on a high note, given the last couple of weeks? It's been just kind of an ebb and flow roller coaster type where you're high, you're low. How important is it to get some consistency in these final 2 games before you go into the conference tournament?
Well, we'll all say it's important. We've been Jekyll and Hyde. We've had good halves. We're good first half, bad second half. One good game on a Thursday, bad on a Saturday, and vice versa. So we just got to get some consistency one way or the other. Whether we win or lose these games, we just got to be more consistent in how we defend, us knocking shots down, and not turning the ball over. To some degree, we're not even giving ourselves chances, and we've got to do a better job of executing that stuff. When we get opportunities to knock down shots, we got to do that. I got to do a better job in practice of trying to anticipate what teams are going to do. However, at this time of the year, we've seen it all. We've seen teams not help. We've seen teams help a lot. We've seen teams press. We've seen teams play half court. So we've really seen it all at this point. We need to be better at actually adjusting to that stuff within game situations.
Again, talking with Coach Darin Grover. Coming up on Inside Southeastern Sports, we move on to our women's basketball spotlight. We'll talk with Neely Noel next on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. Time now for our women's basketball spotlight, shining on Neely Noel. Neely, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fine. So, tell us a little bit about coming to Southeastern. I understand that for you it was never really a discussion. This was always where you wanted to be.
Yes, sir.
So what was it that tied you to the university so quickly as far as that goes?
That it was close to home. I didn't want to move far away from home.
Of course, being from Rat-Tan, you're not that far away. Your parents, they're at, well, I say parents, your family
Yeah.
travels well, not just here at Darin. I see them on the road at all the road games as well.
Yes. And they also, both of my sisters and my mom and dad both went to Southeastern.
So from that standpoint, when you're on those road trips, I mean, because not a lot of people, not everyone's families are able to make those trips. Does it add to your comfort level having your family nearby for all these games?
Oh, for sure. There's only been a couple games throughout my whole life that at least one person in my family hasn't been there.
Really?
Normally my grandma, she comes to every home and away game.
So so for you it's comforting. It doesn't add pressure.
No, I would way rather than to be there. I get nervous if no one's there.
Now I've noticed that one thing that you really do in coming off of the bench is really you're kind of a three-point shooter, three-point threat. How much do you pride yourself on your ability to shoot threes?
A lot, I guess.
How much time do you put in on it?
I come in almost every day, at least minimum 20 minutes to shoot extra.
Is there, like, from your standpoint, is it a time thing or is it an amount of shots thing?
Amount of shots. I try to make a certain amount.
So from that standpoint, how many do you try to make?
If I'm shooting on the gun, I'll at least make 100. You know, you shoot 300 or however many, and then most of the time if I'm not on the gun, I'll make 75 to 100. Just depends what I'm doing, kind of, whether it's jump shots or threes.
Were you that prolific? I know you were a prolific scorer in high school at Rat-Tan, but were you that efficient from beyond the arc, or was your game a little bit more variable back then?
Oh, it was. I shot way more floaters and stuff than I do. I jump shots, floaters, layups more than I did threes, I would say, in high school. I was good at three-point shooting, not to be cocky, but I would say it wasn't just three-point shooting.
What has changed as far as that goes? I mean, obviously the game's a little bit different. What's been the biggest difference for you?
Probably just I can't dribble as well as what probably in college I need to, so as far as taking it to the hole and stuff, it wouldn't be as easy as in high school. And then, so I just changed it more into getting shots off quicker instead of taking it off the dribble.
Is that something that, I mean, because obviously you still have, a year or so left, is that something that you plan on trying to work on and further develop as you go?
Definitely, because now people know I'm a three-point shooter, so now it can't get as many shots off as last year, the beginning of this year. So I definitely have to change something up.
How often do you talk about being close to home? How often do you get to go home throughout the year?
For sure, during preseason, off season, I'll go home every other weekend, every weekend. During basketball season, sometimes on the away games I'll ride home with my grandma. Sometimes I may not.
How, from people down there, I mean, how do people perceive what you're accomplishing as far as that goes? Because not a lot of people realize just how difficult college athletics actually is. Everybody thinks that they're able to go and play, and that's just not a reality. So for you, you're one of the few from that area in recent memory to get this opportunity.
I would for sure say the little kids probably look up to me and stuff. Like when I go home, everyone always asks me about it, and I feel like that's all they relate me to is playing college basketball.
Whenever you were young, did you know? I mean, you obviously had relatives that went and played some college basketball, but did you have a feeling that this is what you wanted to do at an early age? Yeah,
for sure. I would always say I'd want to make it to the NFL or do further in basketball. So my family always said to play basketball while I was young, and then when I get out, I could rodeo or something. So I just put it all I did was play basketball during high school.
Are you going to try to get into rodeoing after this?
Yeah, after basketball, I'm going to try to start rodeoing.
Really? Now, did you ever do that in high school? Because I know Rat-Tan's got a huge rodeo that they host every year.
I'll enter the Rat-Tan rodeo every year, and then a few rodeos around the house, but not like basketball.
What were your events?
Roping, breakaway, and team roping.
So that's something that you see yourself doing even after basketball's in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, breakaway.
What's held you to have an interest in that? Because obviously they're different. They're way different.
Yeah.
I can't imagine even trying to control an animal. So to me, that scares me. Basketball doesn't scare me. Trying to control an animal scares me.
I would just say my whole family's been cowboys, cowgirls, so I was kind of used to it.
Cool. So aside from that, professionally speaking, what were you getting into degree-wise?
Well, I'm majoring in biology and then minoring in like kinesiology or something. Haven't really decided that actually, but I want to be a coach, so maybe health.
Do you see yourself coming from that small school background and staying relatively close to home? Is that something you foresee, staying in and around this area? Obviously, one of your former teammates, Miranda Schaefer, now coaching back
Yeah.
at Hayworth. Do you see that as kind of a goal to stick around this area?
Yes, I would definitely like to be somewhere around Rattan area, Broken Bow area. Maybe Rattan one day.
Again, you don't think there would be a little added pressure coaching at your old school?
Well, I would actually like to coach under Coach Clay at my high school for a little while, get some of his tactics down.
Again, talking with Neely. Noel, coming up, we move on into men's college basketball. We talk with the head coach of the Savage Storm, Coach Kelly Green. It's on the way on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. Time now to be joined by the head men's basketball coach, Coach Kelly Green. Coach, go out on the road, last road trip of the regular season, split against a very athletic Southern Arkansas team and a great win against a very talented Monticello team. Both of those teams fighting for seeding. Just your thoughts of the road trip itself. Obviously, that first loss was a tough one, but coming back and winning on the road against a very good Monticello team, great way to end the road swing.
Well, anytime you go on the road, you know, what the coach speak is you want to split on the road. We felt like that both these games were going to be very, very difficult games for us. Southern Arkansas has beaten Oklahoma Baptist, beaten Southern Nazarene, beaten everybody at home, and had really been playing well as of late. And so we knew we were going to be in for a struggle there, and started out playing pretty well, but at halftime we got very stagnant, did not play very good in the second half, and got to give them credit. They amped up the pressure on us and kind of took us out of things. So it was a very disappointing loss, needless to say. And so, you know, again, as a coach, now you get concerned that, okay, we're not even going to get a split on the road. You know, you want to get that first one usually and give yourself a little bit of a cushion. But came out in the Monticello game, again, got off to a good start, kind of faltered a little bit down the stretch in the first half and let a couple of really bad things happen in the first half. So we challenged our guys in the second half, and they really came out and performed well. And kind of in spite of ourselves, the last minute and a half, we were able to hang on. Well,
you talk about that. I mean, it's very easy, especially with the way the first half ended in Monticello, buzzer-beating 3 to give the Boll Weevils a 7-point lead going into the break. It's very easy to all of a sudden start pouting and doubting yourself. You guys came out, though, worked it through, and then took control at the 15-minute mark and really held serve the rest of the way.
Well, we might have been holding serve, but I think it was just like it was like 15 love is all it was. We weren't holding it. We weren't holding it 40 love, and. But anyways, it was a very good win. Proud of the way our guys came out and competed in the second half, and we did have a chance to fold. I mean, we had a chance after the kind of the way the first half ended to kind of duck our tails and say, you know what, we're done for the weekend, and the guys stepped up and got it done.
Of course, you know, you always say that after a win, things maybe aren't as good as they feel, and after a loss, they're not as bad as they feel. You look back at the Southern Arkansas game, 4-point road loss. You've been able to look at that game? Have you been able to kind of evaluate and get a real sense of that game?
Well, we didn't make shots, and you know, we missed some open looks. Now, the open looks we got were not rhythm shots, and you know, they were just kind of like, hey, I'm open, so I guess I'll shoot it now. Instead of being ready to shoot the ball was moving, and you're ready to shoot, and you're shooting shots like that. Sometimes you can even take contested shots when the ball's moving and you're in rhythm to shoot it. But we weren't in any kind of flow in the second half. Really thought we stood around a lot, held on to the ball too long, and that's what happens a lot of times with us when teams get up and pressure us. And we've got to do a better job of handling that adversity whenever it happens.
course, and have to get on that track really fast. Henderson State, similar style club team that, and you guys road loss back in mid-January. When you look at this week and rounding out the regular season, Henderson State, of course, trying to move their way up in the seeding process, and Ouachita Baptist, we don't know where they'll be come Saturday, but obviously still numerically in it coming into this week, both very challenging games.
Well, Henderson's probably, them and Arkansas Tech may be the two most talented teams in the league from top to bottom. And I remember saying that all year long, and I know whenever we did the preseason, the coaches did the preseason poll, I had them right up there. I think I picked them second in the league. I thought they were really going to have a good team, and they've done that. And even their losses on the road have been close games, and they've beaten just about everybody at home. So then they kind of manhandled us in the second half, especially over at Arkadelphia. So we've got a big challenge there with them. They're athletic, they're big, they can shoot it, they've got depth, and it'll be a very, very difficult game for us.
Of course, and you don't wrap up any easier. Ouachita, a team that maybe doesn't have some of the stars of everyone else, but they can certainly muck up a game.
As you and I know, I mean, they should have beaten us. I mean, make no mistake. I mean, we got off to a nice start over there, but faltered in the second half, and it took a Adam Dworsky leaning 30-footer off the glass three-pointer to get it to overtime. So we were very fortunate to get out of there with a victory, and I'm sure they'll be remembering that. And they've beaten Southern Nazarene already this year. They've beaten Henderson. They are a very, very good team, and they're very athletic, much like they're much like Southwestern, much like Southern Arkansas. So it'll be a big challenge for us as well.
Again, talking with Coach Kelly Green. Coming up, our player spotlight on the way. It shines on Kellen Manek coming up next on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports. Time now for our player spotlight, shining on Kellen Manek. Kellen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've had an interesting run from high school, stand out at Hera, went to Oral Roberts, and then made the transition here. Of course, your brother playing at OU. What was it that made you make the switch from Division I to Division II?
I was just looking for a new environment and just wanted to be happy. Wasn't really enjoying it, and at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying it, then it's not going to be any fun at all, because college basketball is already different than high school.
How much more fun has this atmosphere been for you?
Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, Coach Green, Coach Quinn, Coach VT are great. The players are great. I love all my teammates. It's just been a lot of fun being able to compete and be really good at the same time.
One of the things that Coach Green, was pointed out a lot last year, that you really hadn't played basketball in 2 years. And true, I mean, when you consider from the time you graduated to how limited your time was at Oral Roberts, now here you are in your second year at Southeastern. How much more comfortable do you feel playing? I mean, because now you're playing a ton of minutes in comparison to even what you were a year ago.
I feel like I finally settled in. Last year definitely coming in, they had established, basically they had almost a lot similar team that they had the year before. So, I just wanted to come in and try to help us be better and try to help us win. And this year I feel like I've taken on more of a role of, I know what I'm doing now. I've got back in the flow of things, and so I can have an opportunity to score more, have an opportunity to do more at the same time.
One thing that stood out, I mean, the stat line has obviously increased, and I'm sure some of that comes with familiarity of the offense, being more comfortable with your teammates. But the thing that I've really noticed, a year ago, that vocal presence was Jet Jobe. And now, Adam can be really quiet. Mm-hmm. Buckingham likes to talk a lot, but he doesn't get really loud. You, on the other hand, I see you from, basically the 4 position, calling out all defensive strategy, getting on to teammates to get into certain positions. What is it that's made you more vocal this season?
I think, like you said, losing Jet, I mean, that was really kind of Jet's role last year. And I did it in high school a lot, so I'm pretty used to it. I was kind of the vocal guy in high school. But like you said, just losing Jet, he was really our vocal guy, our vocal leader, always knew what was going on. And I've just seen that we kind of needed a guy like that and tried to be that where I can.
How do you, because you obviously had an outstanding high school career, especially when you look at your team's win percentages. You guys were just stellar at Era High. How important is that to have a guy take on that role, in your opinion?
I think it's really important just to have somebody that people can look to. I mean, even if, I'm not saying that's me, but even if it's Kevin, even if it's Adam, you got to have somebody that people can look to and think, okay, he knows what's going on. Let me see what he thinks.
One of the things that I've noticed this year as well, how much work did you put into strength and conditioning this offseason? You seem, last year, you've always had a big build as far as, tree trunk-like legs as far as that goes. But it seems like your upper body now, people run into you and they're running into a stone wall.
Coming into last year, I didn't really know what I needed to do. My main goal was to just be healthy. And this last summer, I ran a mile a day, 5 days a week minimum, sometimes 2 miles a day, just constantly running, lifting on those days too, because I knew I just needed to be in better physical shape because I wasn't there last year. I've had games where I played over 40 minutes. If we've been in overtime, I could have never done that last year. And that was just one of my goals, was to be in better shape.
Of course, winding in on the final stanza of the season, from an individual standpoint, what's your individual goal and what's the team goal?
My individual goal is just to keep playing my game, keep trying to impact any way I can. Team goals, obviously, win a GAC championship and get to the national tournament and try to make a run at it.
How fun was that experience last year?
It was a blast. One of the craziest games I've ever seen, first round of the NCAA tournament. One of the craziest games I've ever been a part of. And we had a great run at the GAC last year too. Got beat in the finals of the tournament, got second in the regular season. So it was a lot of fun. It was memories I'll have forever.
Now, on a lighter note, your roommate and friend Adam Dorsky has coughed up the fact that you're a Star Wars fan. When did that start? Because the movies obviously originated before even I was born. So what introduced you to Star Wars?
One of the earliest, I remember watching 1 and 2 a lot when I was a kid, because they were kind of action-packed ones,
Yeah.
But 3 didn't come out until, I can't remember the exact date, but I was still young. I remember going in the theaters to see 3, and it was just
So the funny thing is you're young enough. You're talking about the actual canon version, because technically speaking, 3 came out in my world. Return of the Jedi came out 1983.
Well,
so
I watched 4, 5, and 6, obviously, but 1, 2, and 3 were always my favorites. They're the newer ones, the more action-packed ones. So those 3 were my favorites.
So you've seen all 9 of them. How would you rate those, in order? And you can just rate them 1 through 9. I'm not going to make you say, Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. I can get that deep, but you can just rate them 1 through 9 in whatever the canon order is.
Unlike most people, I loved 9. So 9's number 1 for me.
Okay.
I loved it. Just how they tied everything together. Most people didn't like it, but I loved it. 9, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 4, 5, 6.
See, you and I would completely disagree on some of those. We'll get into it off air as far as that goes. 1, I can't do 1. I understand why you like 1, because you would have been a kid when it came out.
Before 9, 1 was my favorite.
Yeah, see, for me, 1 was just too Disney. 1 was just, the one's the Jar Jar Binks made it insufferable for me. I couldn't do it. Talking with Kellen Manek, talking basketball, talking Star Wars. Kellen, thanks as always. Good luck in the remainder of the season. We'll do this again next year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
See if we can work on your Star Wars order between now and then. Of course, you can follow along with everything Southeastern at GoSoutheastern.com. Till next week, I'm Jay Lindly. So long, everyone.